What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I am back, and so is Trixie, apparently. She's gonna hang out for the video. Today, I got something a little special for you guys. I'm thinking we're gonna do a little Q&A. It's been a while, so it's gonna be mainly like movie questions, acting questions, and stuff like that, so without further ado. Trixie, what'd you do with my phone? All right, if you see me keep looking down to my phone, I just have all the questions on there. I'm thinking I'm gonna do like the Q&As like once a month probably, and have you guys send me questions periodically in the comments below. That way I can kind of go through them, pick them out. I'm gonna kind of save them all too. So first question is going to be, who is your favorite actor or actress and why? And going into all these, okay, see you later. Going into all these, I really didn't want to come up with like a preconceived answer. I kind of wanted to just toss it to the wall. So I don't know how I'm going to answer all these. I really don't have a definitive answer or something like that. I would say though, as far as my favorite actor or actress, we'll do this in two parts. Right now, my favorites, I would say, probably goes for both too. Someone like Jake Gyllenhaal. I really like his approach to acting. I really like the roles he takes. I see myself one day kind of acting in those kinds of roles. Also too, someone like, obviously, like an Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. I really much love Robert De Niro's method acting. On the flip side of it, someone like a Frances McDormand or Holly Hunter, I really love too. And then as far as kind of up and coming the last kind of number of years, someone like a Saoirse Ronan or Florence Pugh. I've just loved their performances too. Someone like Margot Robbie has turned in a lot of amazing performances as well. So yeah, it's one of those things that always kind of fluctuates. Not to leave it ambiguous, but is that the right word for it? I don't know. But for right now, I think that's definitely who I would say. Question 2, my favorite movie of all time and why? Once again, this is like picking children. Favorite movie of all time. If I put this as movies I've watched the most, I'll probably have to say something like Black Hawk Down. Empire Strikes Back comes to mind. The Godfather 1 and 2. Apocalypse Now. The reason being, those are definitely the movies, like I said, I come back to. I've learned the most from. And have just overall gotten me into the love of filmmaking and acting, I would say. Those are also movies that have kind of opened up my love of other movies. Because of movies like The Godfather, I found, Goodfellas and Casino, kind of those kinds of movies. Apocalypse Now, I think, for just the scope of it. It's such a big movie. And you just learn so much about the characters and just the effect and the toll that the movie takes on them. You know what I mean? So for right now, I think that is my catalog of movies. But it's something that can change in the next 5 minutes. It can change tomorrow. It can change right now. I can move on to the next question and I'll have 5 more movies I didn't think of. So moving on to question 3. What do you think makes a good movie? I think this kind of ties into my last answer for favorite movie of all time. I think making something that can relate to people is very good. I think also to a good script and good actors to perform that. Good cinematography goes into it. Something of the viewer I have to be interested in. I don't want to just go into a movie of something that, I wouldn't say that I don't have interest in, because it could be something that at first I don't have interest in, but then down the line, by the second act of the movie, am just completely on the edge of my seat, needing to know what happens next. I would say mainly overall, though, like I said, it has to be something relatable. Question 4. What is my favorite movie genre of all time? Definitely, I would have to say suspense thriller. I think of movies like Seven or Zodiac. I like crime movies. I feel like I just get the most out of them, honestly. I like movies that make me think. I don't want to sound snobby by saying that, but I feel like, you know, in situations like that, the film viewer is also a part of the, you know, of the movie. If you're watching something, and I love comedy movies, but a lot of comedy movies, they kind of get to a point where they feel like they're just kind of hitting you over the head. And I like I said, I much rather would be someone who is invested fully. And that's what I get out of kind of, you know, crime movies and stuff like that. Then also, you know, you have a subgenre of mob movies, which I talked about with The Godfather and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You just get so invested into the characters and, you know, the evolution of those characters. That can really tie into what makes a good movie. You know what I mean? So I think starting out with your genre can lead to so many different possibilities when it comes to, you know, your fabrics of the movie, if that makes sense. All right, next question. I'm not even going to number these anymore because I don't even remember what number we're on at this point. How do you think technology has changed the way we watch movies? I think this can be said from not even technology we have now. It can be ever since Technicolor was invented, ever since people, if you look at the Jazz Singer, when we first implemented, you know, talking to a movie. Technology is going to be what keeps us going to the movies, what keeps us watching movies. You can't even imagine what we're going to have 20 years from now. I look at a movie like Back to the Future 2. Back to the Future 2, if you look at how 2015 was, how futuristic and how special it was compared to how the real 2015 was, we never know where technology is going to take us. And really anything, not just movies, but I feel like movies in particularly, it adds us that kind of next dimension. If you look at, you know, what we're doing now with deep fakes and bringing, you know, actors back from the dead and really just changing performances. We could have a movie now where Charlie Chaplin is in a movie with Meryl Streep. You know what I mean? It's something that 15 years ago, we never thought would be able to happen. Now we have this technology in just its infancy. You know what I mean? It's something that 20 years from now, who knows what's going to be. So technology, I think, is pivotal to the movie watching experience. And also, too, if you look at back in The Wizard of Oz, how are people reacting when Technicolor was a thing? If you look at the saturation and you look at what that movie looks like, it's something that we're still talking about in 2023. Who would have thought that? You know what I mean? So technology, like I said, it is pivotal to movies.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Okay. What is my favorite movie scene of all time and why? This is a hard one. Off the top of my head, I would have to say in the scene in The Godfather Part 2, where Michael finds out that Kay had the abortion, I think is probably one of my favorite scenes of all time. Probably because of the performances between Al Pacino and Diane Keaton. It's just so raw. It's something that I've learned so much from. Just for overall performances, just how to express with no dialogue, how to express with your face. I mean, if you look at Al Pacino, he goes, you know, he goes a certain time without saying a word, but he conveys so much just by his facial expressions. That's something that I think makes it one of the greatest scenes of all time. There's definitely a few names that stick out to me. Other people might think they're, overrated. I personally think they're underrated. Names that come to mind, someone like Paul Giamatti, I think is criminally underrated. Everything he's in, be it a Disney movie or, a serious movie like 12 Years a Slave, he knocks out of the park. He is fully invested in his characters. I think someone too like Cillian Murphy, we've seen what he can do in a performance like Peaky Blinders, but he's always, I felt, he's played second fiddle to someone else. Where, he is so gripping on his own and so chilling at moments as well. Another name I want to bring up before I start, rattling off names, definitely someone like Michael Fassbender. Everything he's in, an underrated performance he was in, a movie like Hunger, Shame he was great in, 12 Years a Slave. He's another one. He reminds me of Robert De Niro almost. He's so raw with his performances. There's no over-the-top theatrics. It's just him. He's giving you pure skill. And that's something that one day I want to be. I every single time one of his movies comes on or I see one of his performances, I pull my notepad out and start, looking at his facial expressions, his tone of voice, how he reacts to other actors, bouncing lines off of him. I learned so much from him. Also, I want to touch on actors like names like William Dafoe, Sean Bean, William Forsythe, Emily Blunt, I would say, is an underrated actress. Saoirse Ronan's underrated. Florence Pugh, she's getting more credit, as she's been in, more big name stuff. But, God, I would say someone like, I don't know. I can't think of anyone else. There are so many criminally underrated actors and actresses, should I say. Those are the performances I feel I want to, go back and watch the most. I've seen, your Godfather and Apocalypse Now, and I've said those are my favorite movies of all time. I've talked about to death already in this video alone. But I found myself, it's more of the underrated performances that I kind of, like I said, go back to. It's just such a breath of fresh air. All right, next question. What is the most memorable movie you have ever seen and why? Now, this is going to be a little out of left field. I think personally, for me, it has two answers. One people can relate to mostly, and another one that's very personal to me. The first one is the first movie I ever saw, which was Empire Strikes Back. That one, I can tell you, I learned so much. I had a VHS copy of it, and at the beginning of it, you had a sit down between George Lucas and Leonard Maltin, who, the two of them in that conversation is really what kicked off my whole love of film. I learned so much from that. To this day, I go back to those interviews now, and I feel both nostalgic and I feel like a student. I feel like someone that is, 5 years old again, sitting in front of their TV, watching this and, trying to understand what, different cameras are and how George Lucas filmed this in stop motion before I even knew what stop motion was. The next question, what do you think the role of music is in movies? I would say the music in movies is pretty much the glue that keeps everything together. I've seen those scenes online. I'll say that 3 times fast. Where they have scenes without music and then they add the music and it just adds a whole nother dimension to it. it's pretty much became a part where you don't even hear it anymore, or not to say that, you just don't even think about it anymore. If you took all that out, movies just wouldn't be the same. No matter how good the performances were, how good the acting was. Like I said, it's the glue. It takes all those other good things and just adds that extra little flavor to it. Okay, last question. And like I said, if we like this, let me know. We can do this every so often. I would love to sit here and do this with you guys. Hell, even maybe on a live sometime. Who is your favorite director and why? Now, I was thinking about this question, and one of the first names that came to mind, as far as versatility goes, I would say someone like Ridley Scott. Now, the reason I say that is Ridley Scott directs Black Hawk Down, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But he has such versatility in the movies that he does. To do a movie like Black Hawk Down, then do An American Gangster, or do Alien, or Gladiator. Movies that have such low things in common, but he knocks that out of the park every single time. You know, he has had some misses along the way. Looking at you, later Alien movies. But he just has that full range where he's almost a chameleon, you know. And how many decades has he been successful for? Another name that really comes to mind, Martin Scorsese, you know what I mean? Although a lot of his movies do go off the same beats, he's just so rich in character development and just the shots he gets. You look at a movie like Raging Bull and just how amazing that is, just as far as the character work, like I said, and the journey he takes you on. And then you have your Goodfellas and Casinos and, you know, Gangs of New York. So, you know, those really come to mind. Obviously your Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg, I feel like I've learned the most from. Watching The Fabelmans really gives you that kind of spark to say, hey, you know, we all grew up like that. A kid who, you know, had a camera in his hand and just had imagination. Watching his films really gives you that kind of feeling as a kid and feeling of adventure. Other names that come to mind, you know, your Quentin Tarantino. I feel like if I were to have gone to school and had to study a director and learn the most out of, I would say Quentin Tarantino. His dialogue, his shots, his character work, it's all just top notch. So yeah, that is really as far as I can think of. I won't, like I said, keep you guys for too long. So I hope you guys liked the video. We're going to have more movie reviews coming soon. So until next time, keep that popcorn handy and I'll see you around.